Hello, hello. Transfer time, it certainly is, Dren. You'll probably be able to see some of the transfers there in the squad screen. So I have been a little bit busy whilst off stream. Spent pretty much every penny. And our squad is not complete by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to have to maybe bargain basement a few signings, maybe a few loan signings just to bolster the squad a little bit. But we did start off with about a £35 million transfer budget. We only have £1.2 million of that left. We do have about 100k spare in the wages, so we could tinker with a few things, which would give us a little bit more transfer budget, but you're not talking about huge amounts here. So let us quickly introduce you to who we have signed. Now, it's been a little bit of a different transfer strategy than usual. For 30 odd million, I would usually sign a complete first 11 with the newly promoted championship side, particularly on Yo-Yo Man, where I'm looking to do as well as possible in the first season. So increasing the squad's strength and depth is one of the major factors that I take into account when deciding how much to spend on a player. But as we are with Sunderland for the foreseeable future, I can certainly afford to splash the cash on first 11 signings and then just look to strengthen as cheaply as possible to see us through the rest of the season. So we're going to ignore my head of youth development signings, which was this guy from Manchester City. Sergio Gomez, of course, was a signing we agreed in January from Borussia Dortmund on a free transfer. He comes in and he will be our starting attacking midfielder for this season. Now, you've probably seen this guy before. He's always a wonder kid. He always developed pretty fantastically on this game. He's a 3.5 star, 5-star player now. This seeing he's operating at a championship level, he is absolutely not. He is more than good enough for the Premier League, and absolutely delighted to get him in. Now, Filippo Ranocchia, we signed on a free from Juve. A little bit of a gamble, just to put in our under-23s. You probably won't see much of this boy this season. Same with Alan Virginius, signing for 95k from Sochaux. And I've seen this lad develop really, really well. Doesn't seem to maybe have the potential that he usually has in my version of the game, so we'll just wait and see how he develops. Look to get him some loan and give him time out. So we made, alongside Sergio Gomez, we made another 5 pretty much dead set starter signings. The first of which was Jack Butland from Stoke City. I think we discussed him last time. We ended up signing him for £4.5 million from Stoke City. I think it's a good signing. The fact that he's English, he's still only 28, which is relatively young for a goalkeeper. He's just sort of entering his prime. And I'm very happy to be able to bring him in. We did have some issues in terms of getting players in on foreign work permits and stuff. So being able to rely on a couple of English signs has been fantastic. The next of which was to join was Josh Timon again from Stoke City. This time £7.5 million. 22 years old, 3-star current, 4-star potential, will be our starting left back for this season, competing for that side with Jose Gomes, who of course was our starter last season. The fact that he's English, the fact that he's got potential, and the fact that he's already so well rounded just attracted me to him straight away, and I'm glad to be able to bring him in. £7.5 million is a lot of money considering our transfer budget initially, but you know, we've got to make these signings last, and I anticipate him being our left back for a good couple of seasons whilst we try and venture up the Premier League. Our next signing was another wing back, this time Rasmus Nissen Christiansen from Red Bull Salzburg for £7.5 million. As you can see, we spent 47.5. A lot of these are done in instalments, so we didn't actually spend crazy amounts on these players up front. So Nissen Christiansen is an ultimately incredibly well-rounded wing-back. Again, he will be competing with Ivan Lopez, our right wing-back from last season. And as you can see by his attributes, he's just a really, really spot-on player who's maybe has a little bit of potential to grow, 23 years old. But even if he doesn't grow that much, he is already pretty much the complete sort of player that we are looking for. And now I think I mentioned this guy last time as well. Neyon Perez, we had him scouted in the Championship. He had a £13.25 million minimum fee release clause at Atletico Madrid. And that's where the majority of our monies went, because obviously we've had to pay all that up front. We couldn't do that over instalments. He's just an absolute gem. I think he's going to be one of the top centre-halves in the Premier League in a couple of years' time. He's certainly going to be our best centre-back for quite a while until maybe the regens really start developing. And mentally he's fantastic, physically he's well-rounded, technically he is as well. If he can get his pace up a little bit, I'll be quite happy with that. But yeah, just an absolutely fantastic player who I have no qualms about playing in the Premier League. He will be absolutely fantastic. And finally, our biggest problem position, in my opinion, is right wing. Last season in the Championship, we never really settled on someone who was our starter. You know, Jack Clark came in, he did okay. Lyndon Gooch came in, did okay. Nobody really made that spot there on and would definitely first name on the team sheet. I'm hoping this guy could be Abdul Kadir Omar from Trabzonspor. £14.5 million was spent on him, and he looks absolutely fantastic. A 4-star player. He is an inverted winger. We were playing a winger last season, so we have made a slight change to the player roles in terms of the tactic, and I'm hoping he can do the business for us. He's got all these player traits which are great, really complement his game. Try and killer balls, which is great with his passing of 15, his vision of 14. Knotting the balls past the opponent, which is great with his acceleration. Cuts inside from the right wing as an inverted winger is what you want him to be doing anyway. And at 22 years old, he's incredibly young. And particularly with all of these players, one of the key factors you've got to take into account is resale value. Financially, we're not a great club. As you can see, we're currently on a minus £32 million balance. That is projected to go into the positive by the end of the season, but of course if we sign anybody else, that will further come down. So player sales is going to be an area we're going to have to look at to be able to make this club self-sufficient and profitable, basically, which is at the end of the day what we're here to do. We need to make ourselves financially viable, so at the end of the day we can put more money into the transfer budget, sign better players, more players, and look to continue from there. It's one of the easiest ways to get good at Football Manager, is to understand the finances and get good at making them at a certain club. Hello Casper, how are you doing? So we're 10 minutes in. We are at the 10th of July. We've still got a few weeks left of the transfer window. Our Premier League season is shortly about to begin. Our first game in the league is against Leicester at home. In terms of the squad then, we've got a decent sized squad. Jack Butland will be our number one. Right back will of course be Rasmus Nissen Christiansen. Kalisa will be the starting centre-back alongside Perez. I think he's the best of the centre-backs we had at the club. So then Perez will be the other centre-back. And left-back will be... Where is he? Where's Timon? He's there. There's our left-back. Maybe controversially, have stuck with our central midfield pairing of George Dobson and Bali Mumba. Now, I am under no illusions. These two... Maybe not so much George Dobson, but they're certainly not good enough for the Premier League, at least in my opinion. These were our central midfielders from League One. They've carried us through from League One to the Championship, now to the Premier League. And rather than look to spend money replacing them, I've decided I'm going to give them the English, the young, I'm going to give them the game time in the Premier League. It's going to cost us points. It's going to cost us wins. It's going to cost us goals. But for the sake of being able to spend the money elsewhere and also helping to develop some younger players who we could maybe sell on later down the line, I've decided I'm going to stick with them, which might come back to bite me. Very well might. In terms of the right midfielder, then it will be Omar, Sergio Gomez, Oliver Batista-Meyer, who we of course have on loan again this season from Bayern Munich. We have a £3.5 million agreed fee with Bayern Munich if we ever want to make that permanent. Of course, we haven't got the money to do that right now, so it'll probably be at the end of this season if we do end up making it. And we have Esposito on loan again, who will be our starting striker, which leaves me with some gaps in the squad. Hello, Kaya. How you doing? Thank you for joining. So, Kieran O'Hara, our first choice goalkeeper from last season, will now drop to the bench. Ivan, backup right back. Hans Olsen, backup centre back. And Benjamin Clark, I'm going to keep in the first team squad, and I am going to endeavour to give him as much game time as possible in the Premier League, which, looking at his attributes, isn't a wise decision. He isn't the greatest, but he's a regen, he's homegrown, 17-year-old English centre-back with that high potential. I want to try and develop him as quickly and as possible to get in our first-team squad. I'm anticipating maybe him in 2 years' time being our other centre-back alongside Perez, which will be great. So that's our defence. We're pretty much covered in defence. I don't think we'll see a new defensive signing unless we end up selling maybe Hancha Olsen or something like that. Defensive midfield, it's an area we're going to have to sign. We're going to have to get a loan player in. Central midfield will be Matthias Jakobsen. On the right-hand side, we are trying to sell Lyndon Gooch, so that will probably mean he's going to join MK Dons on loan for the rest of this season. I couldn't get no transfer fee for him. There is a few players who I've tried to sign, and I just can't get rid of them. So Lyndon Gooch is one of them. So we're going to have to sign another right winger, defensive midfielder. We've got Philippe to play in the attacking midfield role. We've got Antonin to play on the left wing, which means we'll probably need 3 loan signings. Antonin is of course pretty versatile, playing on the right, left, or up front. So he can fill in any of them positions. So we'll just have to see what we can get in the loan market. And I will, Casper, show the season preview to see where the media think we are going to finish. They currently think we're going to finish in 19th position, which we're not. We're not. Well, there's absolutely no way. I think we're going to comfortably stay in the division. 13th, 14th, I think will be an acceptable season. I think with our defence, it's pretty strong. It's really quite strong. It's where we've improved the most over the summer. And with the likes of Esposito playing up top, he will improve over the course of the season, as will Batista Maya. And will hopefully the likes of Ballymumba and George Dobson as well, to be able to boost us up the league. So obviously, bottom 3 is where we predicted. Newcastle got promoted alongside us. They actually have Europa League football. How did they get Europa League football? They got the FA Cup final and won it to Newcastle in the Championship. Let's not talk about that again. But yeah, so Leeds, us and Brentford are predicted to go down. Liverpool predicted to win the league. Newcastle predicted to finish 10th. But yeah, I think the predictions are way out. I didn't even talk about the outs that we haven't been able to bring in much money. John McLaughlin joining Bristol Rovers for 110k. Not the greatest of deals, but whatever. We'll get his wage bill off. We get our money in the bank. That'll do for me. So we are going to look at the loan list. Defensive midfielder, winger, striker. I think that's what we need. And I'm not particularly fussy about how good they are, to be honest with you. James Garner. I want to sign him permanently though, James Garner. He's on 10k per week at Man United. They only want his wages. We'll see if he'll come in as a squad player. Play back up to George Dobson. He's probably better than George Dobson, so we'll probably be starting him, but he's not mine. Centre half we don't need. Go on general info here so we can see a little more clearly exactly what's happening. So I think we'll go for right winger first, although Antonin can play on that side. I think I would prefer if he was our backup on the left-hand side rather than the right. Antonio Marin, potential from Arsenal. Nobody else is really standing out to me. He does have a bid in from Valladolid. He is more of a left-hand sided player. So we'll go for the naturals. We'll see who else is here. Carlos Perez. I like him because he's comfortable on both sides. He can play up front if needed. In attacking midfield if we're really, really desperate. He's on 43 grand per week. How much are you wanting, Barca? 43 grand per week. You can go and stuff that. Absolutely no chance. Felix Correa. We have experience from Felix. Who did we have him at? Was it Birmingham City in the Championship? I think we will make that offer. He's comfortable in all the attacking midfield positions. 25k per week's a lot of money. But we'll go for squad player. We'll bum that offer in. Obviously, this is sloppy signings. I'm not really going to go too in depth with this. I just want to get the players in and I want to get the season started. In terms of striker, Juan Hernandez from Watford could be a good bit of business. Currently has a loan offer in from Middlesbrough. Moise Keane. Oh, why is he on the loan list? I could have signed Moise Keane for about 15-20 million. I'm not going to loan him. Or maybe I should loan him and ruin him a bit. They want too much of his money. Should get another English lad in. A bit of pace on Eddie. A little bit different to Esposito's, more well-rounded. They're wanting 15 grand per week. If he's willing to join us as a squad player, we'll make that offer. And if them three do come in, that's pretty much our squad complete for the season. I'll have a look at Lewandowski, Casper. It's unlikely to be a signing that I would make, purely down to his age and probably contract negotiations. He's still got another 2 years. He must have extended his contract at Bayern Munich. But yeah, typically, even for free signings, I tend to stay away from older players. And in Yo-Yo Man in particular, by signing under 23 players, pretty much every club who I interview for, they're absolutely buzzing to have me because I've got that reputation of signing young players, and pretty much every club you interview for, they all want you to be signing under 23 players. Tangana was an option on loan to bring in as maybe if we loan Benjamin Clark out, but the issue with Benjamin Clark is he's not quite good enough for, I would say, even League One level. He's not brilliant. So keeping him in our squad, giving him such a high level game time and experience, I'm hoping he will rapid develop. And then if we can loan him out to maybe a championship club where he can get regular first team football, that'll be when we sort of get interested in actually loaning him out. He went to Leeds, Casper. Yeah, I think I've seen him a couple of times go to Premier League sides at the end of his contract. And my head of youth development's been going a little bit nuts, signing some players, which I don't really mind as long as they're not costing too much in the wage bill. But yeah, there's Benjamin Clark's currently playing for the England under-19s, which is fantastic. But in terms of friendlies and pre-season stuff on Football Manager, I generally just leave that to my assistant. Obviously, time constraints, I want to get through seasons as quickly as possible. And by this stage, I'm usually pretty confident of exactly what I want to do with the squad, so I don't really need the testing time. I would love to have been able to sign Reece Nelson on a permanent deal, but Arsenal won 34.5 million. I'm not sure if you can ask your chairman, Casper, unless you're talking about maybe an unrealistic signing who's a little bit above your pay grade. So let's say if Reece Nelson, for example, he's worth far too much money that I can afford. Plus, with his current ability and his reputation, it's probably a little bit above what would generally be accepted by our club. So if you see this option here, you can interact with the board and see if they will actually go out and do the business for you. They're not going to do it for me because we are on a minus 20 odd £million balance. But you can argue with your chairman and they might actually go out and make that signing for you. I think I did that with Birmingham with Jakob, the goalkeeper. He was valued at 18 million. We did not have 18 million, but I interacted with the board and they actually went out and made the deal happen. So there's Lyndon Gooch going out. The entirety of his wages plus a little bit extra in the monthly fee. He's worth 6.5 million, and I think I went down to 2.5 million I would have accepted. And no clubs were interested, so I've just decided get him off the wage bill. He's not going to make. I wouldn't be happy bringing him in off the bench. So I'd rather just loan him out, let him get some game time in the Championship. If you go into responsibilities, Casper, transfers and contracts, You see this negotiating player signings for Sunderland here. You can actually leave that to one of your staff. So you can see Andy Walsh, our chairman, or Nicholas Burdiso, our director of football, can go out and find us players. If you're just interested in maybe your scouts finding you a right winger, you can set short-term assignments. If your chief scout's the one who's assigning the scouts, you can go on scout and focus short-term and then decide what they want you to find. Yes, you can take. I've been trying to move on Thiago Lopez as well. Again, can't even get a couple of 100k from him, so he's just going to go out on loan with his wages being fully paid. Madzar's potentials went heavily down since we've increased the current ability of our squad. And now only a 3.5 star potential striker. We'll try and get him loan game time out as well. Fringe, important player, star player, that will do for me. See you later. I'm not bothered about these couple of K per week wages getting paid, as long as he's getting first team football. And there's Eddie Nketiah, now our backup striker for this season. A decent option, I would say. Not quite as good as Esposito. As you can see, Esposito pretty much dwarfs him in most categories apart from speed, which could become useful towards the tail end of some games. Oh, who's this? Yeah, our head of youth really is going a little bit nuts for these under-23 players, particularly from the likes of Man City and stuff who've been released. They all seem to be coming to me, which is fine. Philippe Marcinski having a decent training week. Batista Meyer as well. I'm hoping Batista Meyer comes good this season in the Premier League. He done fantastically well with his 23 assists in the Championship. But yeah, I'm very eager to get the Premier League season started. I want to see the first 10 or 15 games or so. I really want to see how our squad actually compares to some of our Premier League rivals once we get into the game. I was looking at the likes of Dodo and stuff who we signed at Sheffield United, but far too much money, £23.5 million for a right wing back for us at this stage anyway. Hopefully if we can stay up this season, there's Felix Correa coming in now, our backup right winger in play. If we can stay up this season, I think we'll see some massive improvements over the course of... so we can't sign James Garner, which is a little bit disappointing. No more than 2 long-term domestic-based loans, of course. I completely forgot about that. So we're going to have to sign someone who doesn't play for a Premier League club in defensive midfield. Oh, don't want that. So I'm not going to look for loan players who have been listed. I'm just going to look for players who are actually interested in joining us on loan. I'm not bothered if they're interested in a transfer or not. I don't plan on signing them. Come on, game. Here we are. So we've got Ethan Would give us obviously good options at centre-back as well as defensive midfield. Matt Smith is a bit of an all-rounder, as is Chalobah. Of course, we can't sign any of these. We could sign Matteo Viviani, who's a decent enough little player. Fofana? No. Koulibaly from Udinese? I know he always looks pretty good. They are wanting 750k per month though, which is not going to happen. Tell you what, we'll go back on the lists. I don't need anything special here. I just need something decent enough. Teams you could rebuild in the top leagues. Well, what teams have been doing poorly in the top leagues? That's the question. You could always go Everton in the Premier League. I mean, Everton, at least on Football Manager, they're always underperforming on every single save I've had. Pretty massively so in some cases. This guy will do. Polish D-mid from Lazio. If you take a look in real life, you've got the likes of maybe Sampdoria or Torino in Italy. They have not done very well this season, particularly Torino. I think they got European football, was it last year? And now they're pretty close to the relegation zone in Syria. So that offer has been accepted by Lazio. We will wait and see if he will come in as another player for our under-23s officially joining. Your friend Kasper? The Polish teammate? Patrick Jizik. He looks pretty decent mentally. Not so great physically, but you don't need to be in defensive midfield. There he is. He's coming in from Lazio. Lopez going out to Rochdale. There's a couple more now first team squad who I want to move out. Luke O'Nien and Josh Scowen. We get them two boys out and then I think that's pretty much our squad complete. So we have... and Denver Hume. I wouldn't mind getting him out as well. Tell you what, we'll make another. I would take 3 million quid for Denver Hume. He's not that good. He's not worth 5 million. Josh Scowen. I'm surprised he hasn't attracted any offers. Maybe it's these relatively high wages of 10k per week for teams like in League One and the Championship might be putting them off a little bit. And Luke O'Nien, it's the same similar situation with him. There's no way he's worth 4.5 million quid with high wages as well. It's just not ideal. We will clear this squad. One of the little things to think about, if you're like me and don't play your friendlies, if you keep your squad selected, your assistant manager will actually play that squad every chance he gets, which is a bit of a problem because they come into the season absolutely knackered, having started every single friendly. So there's Madzar going out on loan for the season. Hopefully he comes back and is at least capable of playing League One or Championship football. He's a decent little striker. I think he did okay in League 2 last season, playing for Newport County, 8 goals and 12 assists. But yeah, I think with that Polish teammate coming in, I think that's pretty much us done in terms of incomings. Just working on the outgoings now. And even then, if we end up keeping the likes of Luke O'Nien, Josh Scowen in our squad, I'm not too disappointed by that. They do give us a little bit more strength and depth and keep our squad relatively high in size. I just generally like to get rid of them players, purely for the fact of morale and squad dynamics. If they're not getting first team football or any game time at all, they are likely to kick up a fuss at some point, which will then have an effect on the squad, even if they're not massively influential. So we'll get Patrick registered. Now he's available for our Premier League squad. And now you're gonna see me power through and get to the first game, which is against Leicester City at home. It's a good test, that. Obviously being at home gives us a little bit of an advantage, but Leicester, one of the better sides in the top half of the Premier League. Our biggest concern is, of course, our central midfield pairing of George Dobson and Bali Mumba. That's going to be, hopefully, they start to flourish quite quickly. Clear them numbers. Did I know that Dybala is Polish, same as Jagielka? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I did know on some of the earlier versions on FM, I'm sure he used to declare for Poland, Dybala. That rings a bell, actually, Kasper. I'm sure he used to play for the Polish national team on some of the versions. Oh, that would have been fantastic in real life if Dybala had declared for Poland. Dybala in behind Lewandowski would have been pretty special. I always liked the Sampdorian central midfielder. Is it Karol Linetti? He's Polish, isn't he? I always liked it like a box-to-box. I'm talking about Football Manager as well. I haven't actually seen him play in real life. But I always used to like signing him. Just his high work rate, high teamwork. Just general workman-like player. So this is good. Benjamin Clark, our young English centre-half, getting in the Euro Under-19s Team of the Year. Team of the tournament. Ah, that will be good, Kasper. Seeing him in the Polish leagues. Josh Scowen set to move on loan to Shrewsbury. Not only paying half of his wages, but it's 5k per week saved, and at this point we will save whatever money we can. Yeah, there was a couple of lads at Sampdoria. There was a right back, a Polish right back. I can't remember what he was called. Is he still there? Hold on a minute. I'm sure he was the right back. Oh, it's Berezinski. He's now at Lille on my save, but he is still at Sampdoria in real life. Nice Polish connection there. Yeah, because I used to always start a Sampdoria save every Football Manager. And I think it was maybe last year's. Berezinski must have had pretty high potential. I always used to be able to get 15 or 20 million pounds for him after a season straight away. But only 9 days to go now until our first game, and we do the litmus test. I'm not expecting too much from our first 5 or 10 games or so this season. If we can keep ourselves out of the relegation zone in that time, I'll be very, very pleased. If you are watching Yo-Yo Man, I don't think this Sunderland squad is better than any of our other squads. I think Barnsley had a more well-rounded squad, and then the likes of Birmingham and Huddersfield just had better squads in general, as does Leeds. But it is, of course, a lot easier once the regens start developing and coming through to find them cheap bargains to fill out a newly promoted Premier League squad. Emmanuel Longolo, a winger, coming into our under-23s maybe. Looks like Philippe's had a good pre-season in terms of his training. His potential has been downgraded as we've improved the squad, but he still looks like a very good option. And should Sergio Gomez not hit the ground running or run into a poor bit of form, I'm more than happy to bring in Philippe. He will probably find himself playing on the wings as well. That's one of the things I like about most of our attacking midfielders. There are multiple positions where I can play them if we need to. But that's the only thing that's concerning me really about this Sunderland squad, is the strength and depth. It is a little bit weak. So if we do end up hitting an injury crisis, which is likely to happen at some point this season, we might end up struggling in those games. Yeah, I did sort my staff out in the off-season. Not as good as I would usually like it, but I think majority of our coaches are assigned as best as they can be. And next season we will have some more coaches running out of contract, and with a higher reputation we will be able to then attract better first team coaches, which is what I'm looking for. I did actually mess up my scouts there. Do I do this now? I'll tell you what, I'll show you how I set up my scouts in general. So now that we've got, how many scouts have we got now? We have 8 scouts. So because we've got 8 scouts, I am now going to fully scout the European region and the South American region. Then we can just have a wandering scout throughout the rest of the world. So Central Europe first. I'm looking for players under the age of 23. If I'm realistically looking to sign players now for the first team, I would want them to be at least 3-star with a bit of potential to grow at 4.5-star. We'll set that on going. There's Central Europe done. And then we'll just repeat this process for everywhere else. So Eastern Europe's up next. In Eastern Europe, particularly when you're looking, your finances are not so great, is where I seem to find a lot of the really cheap deals. Cheap and really good deals. You do get some excellent regens popping up in the Eastern European countries. Scandinavia, not so much. You do find the odd one. The odd Norwegian regen who's absolutely unbelievable. And it's always Norwegian, never Swedish. At least in my experience. So that's Scandinavia done. We will then do South Europe. Under 23s, good current ability, excellent potential ability. Which leaves us with the UK and Ireland to complete Europe. And then we've got the 2 regions in South America. We don't necessarily have the best scouts in terms of the knowledge. But hopefully over the course of a year or so, our scouts will develop the knowledge themselves if they've been sent there. So South America East, we're now at the point as well, once you get the Premier League, the work permit situation in England becomes a little bit more straightforward. The sort of fees you're paying and the sort of wages that you're paying means you can generally, on the whole, manage to get yourself a work permit. Fairly, no, I don't want fairly good on good. So over the course of this season, now what I want my scouts to be doing is finding me first team players. Next season, let's say we completely revamp the squad again, getting in another 5 or 6 first team players. I will then change all this, so my squads are now looking, my scouts are looking for high potential youngsters. You've just went to the championship with Sunderland, Frederick. My best advice would be, so the squad in League One is already good enough for the championship, so let's presume you've signed nobody. Your squad should probably still be able to keep you up. Financially, has a takeover happened yet? If not, you're probably just going to be heavily relying on loans. I would look to get them in early, get them in quick. The likes of Penaranda, who I signed in my first season in League One, would be more than good enough for the championship on cheap wages as well. But abuse the loan market. That's probably my best advice for when you're in the championship. So what are we doing? We've got the South American regions scouted, and we still have 2 more scouts. I am going to send one to scout Central America. The Mexicans are absolutely fantastic on this game, so we will have one scouting that continent rather than a region. And then, based on my own experience as well, Africa. We'll get someone scouting that continent as well. Always produces some decent regens at the very least. A lot of the times, this is African players, that's when you tend to struggle with your work permits, because you're not paying that much generally. And the wage demands are also a lot lower. So there's our scout set up nice and quick. So over the course of this season, when the scout meetings come through, we'll of course look through them myself. And then start to add all these players to my shortlist. Which actually reminds me, I'm going to completely clear my shortlist. We do lose some knowledge there. And there will be some players who I've just completely missed out there by doing that. But I'm fine with that. We're going to make George Dobson our captain for this season. We're going to put Rasmus Nissen Christensen, one of our new signings, as our vice captain. So 4 days to Leicester. What's our predictions? I think we're going to get a 1-1 draw against Leicester City. I tend to stick to 1, Frederick. Is that the best advice? I don't really know. I tend to react. I try to be pretty reactive in games rather than proactive before the games. So I tend to stick with 1 formation. But I'm sure if you YouTubed, I think it's FM Base has got a pretty good series on Football Manager. He would argue that you should have 3 formations at all times. One for when you're expected to win, one for from you're expected to get beat, and then one for when you're pretty evenly matched. And then set your team instructions and based on them factors. You reckon we're going to win? Oh, Leicester City are a good side though, lads. Should have some very, very good players. We're 3 seasons in, so maybe they've lost a few of them. That's Felipe again. Excellent training. Maybe I should start him, but I need to give Sergio Gomez the go. We need to see what he can do. Which actually reminds me, before we start this game, I do need to sort out my set piece takers now. We do have new players in. Batista Maya will likely still be our main guy. But they are opposite footed, so maybe Batista Maya on the right, Sergio Gomez on the left. Maybe. I was thinking more free kicks there again. And corners as well. Yeah, we'll do that. I am from Sunderland, Frederick. Sunderland born and bred. Right then. First game of our Premier League life as Sunderland manager. I don't think we've got any major issues in terms of injuries. Just Hancha Olsen out. I do want Ben Clark on the bench. I want our right back and our left back on the bench as well. So Hosea Gomes and Ivan I want on the bench. Matthias Jakobsen on the bench. And then 2 attacking players in Marcinski and maybe Antonin or maybe Felix Correa. Although then doesn't... Felix Correa, Eddie Nketiah. I think that completes our first 11 for today. I'll show you me set piece instructions, Casper, after this. I generally leave me free kicks. I don't generally touch them because there's just so many different positions your free kicks can come in on. I haven't quite figured out in my own brain what the best way would be. But for corners, it's pretty simple. I set up basically... Oh, Jesus. Almost 2 minutes in. But generally when we corners, I set them up really simple, aiming at the front post to me tallest central defender. And then have maybe me Porchy striker lurking around the front post. Or Jack Butland with a great save. Leicester should be 1-0 up there. And then somebody Martin, the keeper, as well. Maddison whips it in through the centre. We do get rid of it. It's been an absolutely electric start of this game, 3 minutes in. And Holgate goes for goal for Leicester. Butland with a save. So Leicester are playing pretty positively as well. Should be a relatively open game. They do have Riyad Mahrez back at the club. Luke Thomas, who we do have at Leeds. I don't know if that episode's out yet. Harvey Barnes, William Jose. They've got a decent squad. Maybe not as good as I initially thought. So 8 minutes to go in this first half. Leicester City on the attack with Harvey Barnes down this left-hand side. Got Luke Thomas overlapping. Sergio Gomez doing fantastically well to win the ball. And the ball's played over the top for Esposito. Oh, Seb. Hits the post. It's twice now we've hit the post. Batista Maya with a corner. Whipped into the front post. Esposito's there. So you can sort of see me corner tactic in play there. Esposito is the player who I have lurking at the front post. And I believe Kalisa is the player who I have assigned to attack the front post. I'm pleased with how things are going generally. It seems like a pretty even game so far. And is that Benkovic getting sent off or is it just a free kick? Oh, come on, Sergio Gomez, right from the edge. Oh, there we are. And that is why we signed Sergio Gomez, boys. He is a set-piece specialist. And with him and Oliver Batista Maya, we should get a few more of these goals over the course of this season. Fantastic strike. No chance for the keeper. And we go 1-0 up. And we are just going to drop to a balanced team mentality. Drop our tempo a little bit. We don't need to be pushing forward so much. Another free kick. Gomez again. Not quite as good as last time. Oh, 20 minutes to go. Batista Maya is not having the greatest match. Neither is Bali Mumba in the centre of midfield. With 10 minutes to go, we will take off Bali Mumba. He's on a yellow card as well. We'll bring on Matthias Jakobsen. Sergio Gomez, we'll take him off. We'll bring on Philippe. And we'll leave our final sub just in case. You never know when you might need one. Matthias Jakobsen chasing the ball down with 4 minutes to go on this left-hand side. Finds Batista Maya. Gets past his man. He loses it though. And Tielemans can set away Leicester City on a devastating counter-attack. Demarai Gray. Easy save for Jack Butland. We'll make our final change now. I'm going to bring on... This is such a bad idea. Do not do this. Don't watch. I'm bringing on Benjamin Clark, our young 17-year-old, who is not ready for first-team football, but I'm making him ready. Going cautious as well, as they have now went very attacking. And now we have it then. Sunderland AFC 1, Leicester City 0. Sergio Gomez's wonderful free kick, giving us our first win in the Premier League. Not too bad. We didn't perform badly there. Leicester City certainly didn't outclass us by any stretch of the imagination. That wasn't like a smash and grab sort of win. It was two even teams. But Sergio Gomez was the difference for us. Next up then is Burnley away from home. A much different challenge. away from home obviously being the first factor, but then Burnley, we will have to be at our best attacking wise to break them down. Also, in terms of set piece corners, this is how I have mine set up. So I'll show you here. We have our, that's not edge of our area, near post. So then we have our tallest central defender attacking at the front post. And then we have one of our poacher type players just lurking at the near post. And it's basically the exact same on the left hand side. It's probably not the most effective corner tactic, but it has got me a good few goals over the course of the past couple of seasons. Braithwaite, I will certainly check. He's still at Barcelona. He is transfer listed for £5.5 million. He's got a minimum fee release clause of 258 million. I don't think they're going to get that for him somehow. Carlos Alenia was a player I was interested in potentially bringing in. He ended up joining Stuttgart on loan. He would have been a replacement for Ballymumba if we did sign him, which is why I stayed away from it basically. Conor O'Connor is one of our another more promising regens as well, who have loaned out to Coventry for the season. Not quite the same sort of potential as Benjamin Clark, but I'm hoping we can eventually get him into the first team squad at some point, even if it's maybe just as a squad player. But he's flying up at Coventry. Nah, not Braithwaite at 30 years old with them attributes is not worth that. Not worth that money. As Ballymumba out for 11 days with blisters, so he's going to miss today's game against Burnley. So it will be Matthias Jakobsen who comes in and replaces him in the first 11. Now, of course, Jakobsen was a January transfer sign, and we haven't really seen the best out of him yet. He's still very much developing. Where is he? Matthias Jakobsen. He should... Most people would end up playing him centre-back and be sensible, but I really want to make him a central midfield maestro. Two players I'm interested in longer term. Brandon Williams is certainly one of them. Might be very difficult to prize him out of Manchester United's hands, but I would love to sign him. Also his partner, Ethan Laird. A little bit not as good as Brandon. But another young English attacking fullback. Well, them are very much a longer term prospect. Probably once Manchester United realise they're not actually going to be good enough for their first 11, they stop giving them such high contracts. Antonin has been identified by Hamburg for maybe £10.5 million. I would completely bite their hand off at £10.5 million. Completely. We'll see if that offer comes in. We're not going to offer him out. But we will tell the media we'll be willing to listen to offers. £10.5 million. I'm not even sure how much we will get to that actually. I would imagine our percentage of revenue retained is not that high. 35%. Oh, there we are. We've got that up to 50. That was a 50. 50%. So if we're sold for £10.5 million up front, we'll get £5 million to reinvest into the squad. That will get someone. That will get someone for that, right? So Burnley away, then Manchester United away. That's when we really begin our Premier League season. That. Oh, the couple of games after that are big though. Bournemouth and Watford at home. 6 points possible there. Felix Correa usually develops quite well on Football Manager if you are around this level. He certainly played well for me at, I'm sure it was Birmingham City. Hello, Comedy Gamer. No problem at all, mate. I'll quickly go through our ins this season. So we've signed a few loans. Eddie Nketiah, backup striker. Felix Correa, backup right winger. And then Patrick, is it Zizek from Lazio, backup defensive midfielder. We co-signed Sergio Gomez on a free transfer from Borussia Dortmund. Filippo Rodocchia we signed. He's in our under-23s. The other free transfers were all brought in by our head of youth development. Alan Virginius for 95k, one for the future. And then our main bread and butter, Jack Butland, 4.5 million quid. English, 28. Should be good enough for the Premier League, no doubt about that. Josh Tymon for £7.5 million from Stoke City as well. Another young English left back this time. And I think he's very well rounded and should be very capable of playing in the Premier League. Rasmus Nissen Christiansen we signed from Salzburg for £7.5 million quid. A very well rounded right back. We've really strengthened our defence in the summer transfer window, especially with this boy. Nayuin Perez from Atletico Madrid. 13.25 million quid was his minimum fee release clause. So we had to play all of that up front, and I think we've signed ourselves a top centre back here for years to come. And then Abdul Kadir Omar for 14.5 million quid from Trabzonspor. Right wing was one of the main areas I really struggled to find the sort of player I was after, but I think we found him with this boy. He just cost a lot of money, which we didn't have a lot of. But I think he should be very, very good. So we spent £47.5 million. We only had £35 million to spend, so a lot of this has been done over 3 years in the instalments. And we have played one game, Comedy Gamer, Leicester City at home. We beat them 1-0. Sergio Gomez with an absolute blinder of a free kick. I'm going to have to show you. It was Kieran Richardson-esque from the edge of the area against Newcastle. We'll go to director cam here. An absolute beauty of a free kick. Doesn't seem as good when it's not live. But now we've got our second game of the season. Burnley away from home. We are missing Ballymumba for today's game. Oh. Interesting. I was adamant on starting Jakobsen in central midfield. I'm going to do it. I'm not listening to my assistant manager, but Philippe, he's very, very close to the first 11, Philippe. I would like Jose Gomes on the bench as well. We'll drop Felix Correa off the bench, so first 11 is a little bit weaker with Ballymumba going out, Jakobsen coming in. Burnley away from home. Let's see how it goes. So they come at us with a 4-1-4-1. Any major signings there? They've got Denzel Dumfries, Pizzi. No proper standout signings there in the past 2 seasons for Burnley. We'll see how we get on away from home, though. It will be a much more difficult challenge than the one at home against Leicester City. We are going to come straight off attacking. I don't think we're going to afford to take the game that much to many teams in the Premier League. We'll stick with the 3D. We'll see how my laptop handles it. Josh Tymon win the ball. Spreads down the left-hand side for Esposito, who's cut in goal. And Sebastiano has proven he can do it in the Premier League as well. I won 20 goals out here, Seb. That was a great finish. Josh Tymon doing well here. Pinching the ball off Fortune. And it's a nice little through ball. I'm not sure what the defender was doing there. He should probably be marking a little bit better. But Seb's first goal of the season is a great one. Rest of the first half sort of ticking away without too much happening. Batista Maya with a corner. To the front post, Kalisa wins the header, but it goes out. Sergio Gomez, Esposito's second goal. He's not offside. Burnley 0, Sunderland AFC 2. I was not expecting this in this game. So we have been pretty effective from corners. It was Perez who won the header initially. Comes out to Gomez who shoots, and then Esposito just gets his knee on the end of it and gets his second goal of the game. Esposito, lad. He's doing it in the Premier League. I knew he would. I just need to make that signing permanent somehow. I might have to sell a kidney. So not any changes needed for this second half. We probably can afford to bring on Benjamin Clark in this game. Should I do it? Fine. Listen, don't do what I'm doing right now. Benjamin Clark, if you're not aware, is my young English prospect coming out from the academy. I want to develop him as quickly as possible, so we're going to take off Kalisa. I was starting centre-back for him. Now, if we end up losing points, it's because of that change. Batista Maya with another corner. It's cleared. Jakobsen thankfully wins it. I thought it was going to be a Burnley counter-attack. Batista Maya in the box from Dobson. Goes for goal. Goes just a little bit wide. I am going to go back to 2D. I do like 2D. We'll keep the 3D replays. Jakobsen. Ball over the top for Esposito. Can he get his hat-trick? Oh, Nick Pope with a save. Yeah, comedy game, I didn't address that actually, did I? Batista Maya and Esposito are both on loan again. Batista Maya, we have a £3.5 million agreed deal with Bayern Munich. But Esposito, I could not get an agreed fee, so he's just on loan for another season. And we'll try again in the summer. We'll try and sign him permanently. Or if not, we'll sign him on loan again until we can't loan him anymore. Right, 15 minutes to go. Who else do we... I want to give Marcinski some game time. We'll bring off Omer on that right-hand side. Who's struggling? We'll bring on Ivan for Nissen Christiansen at right back. Batista Maya with a corner. Not a corner, a free kick. Tell you what, boys. We've got ourselves two absolute free kick specialists. One right-footed, one left-footed. I am expecting a lot of goals from set pieces this season. That is an absolute peach. Another highlight now, how we make it 4. Benjamin Clark's even getting involved. Come on, son. Don't lose it. Timon to Batista Maya on this left-hand side. Josh Timon whips it in. Marcinski gets there. And Philippe gets his first goal of the season coming off the bench. Burnley 0, Sunderland 4. Tell you what, boys. This Sunderland side, it's a little bit special. Until we get beat, then it's not. It's Timon with some great work down the left and a great cross. Oh. We're going to be down to 10 men. We're going to be down to 10. George Dobson's... No, it's not. It's going to be Jakobsen. It's going to be the sacrifice. We'll drop Gomez back. We'll go on the counter. This is why you don't make all 3 subs. Batista Maya wins the ball. Can we make it 5 with 10 men? Esposito's in behind. Nick Pope with a good save. Yeah, that's the problem with Esposito. I play him and he's just increasing in his value every game. If we get a massive transfer budget at the end of the season, though, you never know, I might be able to sign him. And now we have it, boys. Burnley 0, Sunderland AFC 4. That was pretty special. Away from home. Man United next. So Timon, oh, Jesus. Our new signing, Josh Timon. Out for 7 to 8 months. Now that creates a little bit of an issue. Is Jose Gomes going to be good enough for the rest of this season? He's not too dissimilar to Josh Timon. And then Denver Hume being our backup. I'm not so pleased about that. Oh, just Manchester United would let us loan Brandon Williams. I can't. 78 months and now a new £7.5 million signing. It's took the wind out of me sails. We're gonna go shopping, boys. We need a left back. So who's on the loan market who doesn't currently play in the Premier League? Greg Taylor. He's not so bad. We could get Greg Taylor from Celtic. Tell you what, before we go on the loan list, this might take a little bit of a while, but we'll have a look for permanence. We've got £2.5 million. We've got 40k in the wage budget. We could maybe make a move. We could maybe make a move. Hey, man. I cannot believe that. Josh Timon as well. Young and English with potential. It's going to ruin him. Greg Taylor's me back up. I've got no chance of De Silva, Casper. I'm sure he's worth about 8 million already. I need some cheap. That's all I need. I need Ramon. The problem with Ramon is I probably won't get a work permit. I'm going to try. I might just have to give him a pretty insane contract. No, I'm not. He's only worth 130k, man. Why do you want that much? Right, let's have a look at the fast players. Jose Martinez. Now, we've signed him before. We signed him as a centre-back. But he's pretty good as a left-back. Now, the fact that he's at Barcelona and he's valued at 130k, get betting they want his minimum fee release clause. Yep, they do. They're not even willing to talk to me. So, Jose Martinez is officially out. It's not too bad. Not the kind of player I would want to sign permanently, though. No. Colina looks pretty good. David Colina. I think so. If Hajduk are willing to speak to me about a reasonable fee, he could be one. Nope. Ooh. I just need some money. Jonathan is very good. We'll probably have issues with his contract. He's wanting to buy Monaco, which is a very good sign. He's got a £4.3 million minimum fee. I will be able to sign him if I can get a work permit. That is the only problem. Is my transfer window shut? Transfer window shut, isn't it? What an absolute numpty. Or is it shut? Have they changed it? Because I know that with the new update, have they put in the Premier League transfer window and they've changed it. Thank God for that. Right, who was signing? What was his name? So now whether we'll be able to get a work permit or not is another matter. The board won't give me any money, Comedy Gamer. They are skint. I'll show you the finance screen. So if we can get him for 2 million, I will be very happy with that. We'll keep looking. Yeah, they've updated it now, so it is the end of August. I knew they changed it in real life, but this is the first time since they've updated the database that I've actually played on a new save. Another quick way to tell which players have high potential. You just look through, see who they're wanted by. If they're wanted by the top clubs, the likelihood is they have some pretty decent potential. Probably none of these. Guillem Guedes. He will be a good signing again, but probably work permit issue. So if we can sign that Jonathan, I will make that deal happen. In terms of our finances, Comedy Gamer, we're on a minus £18 million budget. So we don't really have that much money to be able to request off our board. We're not getting this, fella. I'm walking away. We're signing the Celtic left back, Taylor. I'm not particularly happy with that. I would have preferred to have signed someone permanently. Yeah, we did have a takeover happen in League One, and I thought we were going to be rich. We are not rich. Oh, hold on. Munoz looks pretty good. San Sebastian. Oh, he looks very good. I want him. I think I've changed my mind. Not you. I want Ehin Munoz. And to be honest with you, he's probably going to be a regular starter for us. Can we an optional future fee of maybe £1 million? 2 million? They're pretty stingy on loan negotiations. It'll probably end up being about 3.5. 2.8. Oh. I prefer to have it in there. He's unlikely to be a signing I'll end up making, but you never know. You never know. I'll be right back, boys. I just need to nip to the loot.